Okay, so the chairman of the Federal Reserve says that he's doing this printing money out of thin air because he needs to help the recovery in the economy that's not happening at a fast enough pace. And inflation is not where they want it to be. The way they figure inflation is they cut out food and energy, and they just look at things like cars and televisions and things like that. Well, people are buying food and energy every day, so to take those things out, it makes no sense. I mean, it makes sense for them because they want to manipulate the numbers down to where it shows 1%. But with that aside, we know there's truly inflation. Anyone who knows the definition of inflation knows that inflation is the increase in the money supply, inflating the money supply. It's not rising prices, but they want everyone to think it's rising prices so that they can say, oh, well, the prices are all rising because of greedy capitalists, and they're just raising their prices because they're greedy. No, the Federal Reserve is creating the inflation, and the rising prices come later. Now, before we get the rising prices, we get the commodities shooting up like they are this year. I did another video where I talked about the commodity prices just skyrocketing. I listed a few here. Cotton is up 87% so far this year, while stockpiles are at 14-year lows. Sugar has doubled since May, and it's at almost a 30-year high. This is a result of the PM1, the printing money 1. It's coming out, and also anticipation of the PM2, the printing money 2. Now, the money hasn't even been printed yet. Can you imagine after $1 trillion gets printed? It hasn't even been printed. This is just an anticipation. Corn's up 20% the past month at a 2-year high. Oil's at a 2-year high. That $4 per gallon price just around the corner, could be $5 this time around. We're going to get hit really hard. People that are buying food and using energy, power their cars and homes on a daily basis, are going to get hit really hard. The cost of nearly everything is soaring, but yet the experts like the Fed is citing deflation. They're trying to confuse everyone, trying to make them believe that there's deflation. Oh, prices are falling, home values are falling. There's huge inflation, and we just haven't seen it show up, but it's going to show up. So what is the Fed doing with this $600 billion on top of $275 billion, almost $900 billion? Well, they're going to be buying Treasury bonds from the Treasury Department. So they say that they want to increase inflation, and their exit strategy is just to reverse what they're doing. They'll sell back the bonds. The problem with that is, what's going to cause them to have to reverse? Well, it'd be rising interest rates. So when the interest rates rise, the value of the bonds fall. So they'll lose tons of money on the bonds when they try to reverse it. It's easy to create the inflation, but it's extremely hard to reverse it once you get it going. So they're saying that they can reverse. Now, when when people are criticizing the Fed, they say that they'll just buy back the bonds. Well, it's not going to be that easy. And there's a DVO1, which is used by people who analyze the bond values. It's called dollar value per basis point. It's a metric used to value the bonds. And basically what it is it's extra shot in the arm to the Fed, because interest rates are so low that DVO1 is higher for when the bond values drop, interest rates rise. That drop in the value of the bond is more than if it would have been if interest rates were higher when they took them out. So they're just getting hit harder because they're buying all these bonds at real low interest. Before I wrap this up, there's one last thing I wanted to touch on, which I think is important. One of the main problems with our economy is the fact that we don't manufacture anymore. There's no more production. It's all been shipped overseas. Now, this is not going to be easy to fix. Printing money is definitely not going to fix it. It's just going to steal from you and I. A few facts here I wanted to, bring to your attention. 1959, the U.S. could have fed 5 times the world's population. Now we import 30% of our food. According to a new study conducted by Thomson Reuters, China could be the global leader in patents by next year. The United States has lost approximately 42,400 factories since 2001, with an average of 500 workers at least 75% of those factories. So we're talking like 15 million workers. The United States has lost a staggering 32% of manufacturing jobs in the past 10 years. These are the types of things that are bringing this country down. And of course I'm not happy what's happening to my country, but we can't just keep our head in the sand. You got to break, you got to talk about this type of stuff. When you see numbers like manufacturing employment in the US computer industry is lower now than it was in 1975. That's 35 years ago was the last time we had, this amount of people in the computer industry. And one of the last staggering facts is the fact that there's less than 12 million Americans working in manufacturing. The last time that this happened was 1941. We've always had more than 12 million people in manufacturing since 1941, but now we're back to that level. How can you have a productive economy and have it grow by just printing money and having service-oriented jobs? We have to produce. We can't just keep borrowing money and buying all of China's crap. That's all coming down. In the next few years, there should be a dollar currency collapse, currency crisis. You can look at, all I do is talk about how to prepare for that. Precious metals, things that are denominated in other currencies. You cannot be in the US dollar. It's funny money. You just can't be in it.